everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the Black to Business podcast. I am here with my wonderful guest, Mr. Marquelle Turner-Gilchrist.
Yes, hey. In the building. Yes, hello.
In the building. So Marquelle is the founder of the new Stereotype, which is a project that seeks to showcase Black men and women in a different light while mixing fashion, film, and photography. So we are so honored to have you today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course. I'm super happy to be here, and I apologize to everyone in advance. I'm under the weather, but we're going to push through, as I like to say, and discuss a lot of great things. So thank you again.
Of course. So Marquelle, of course you have to tell us, who is Mr. Marquelle? Tell us about you. How did you get started with the project?
Yes, absolutely. So in the first quarter of 2014, I spent living in the south of France. I was completing graduate school studying global luxury management. And to take you back a little bit, I'm from a very small rural town in North Carolina called Johnsonville. There were no stoplights when I was growing up. Super small.
Wow.
My grandfather, was the preacher at the local church, and I grew up on Gilchrist Road, and as you know, my last name is Turner Gilchrist, so super small community. And so whenever I left the country to study in Europe, I was fixated on this European culture, learning about it and kind of taking it in. And whenever I came back, I would say I was kind of catching up on what I had missed because I was kind of checked out of the U.S. And over the course of that next year, I spent a lot of time watching YouTube clips trying to figure out what I missed. And in 2014, I would say the racial climate in the United States came to an all-time high. And any news media outlet in this country at any given time, especially during prime time, was discussing race. And I wanted to do something that was both authentic and meaningful to who I was as a person. And from that, the new Stereotype was birthed. I got together a group of 7 other men here in New York City, all from a wide variety of industries, from several different places, and we sat in Wall Street. We took some amazing photos just with this simple idea of controlling our narrative, saying that this is who we are, the media doesn't control it for us, and we're great people, and we're going to create our own platform even if one isn't created for us. So.
Snaps. I can't believe you wanted to come back here with all the things going on.
Yeah, I mean, Europe is, France in particular, which is where I was living, is a very... it's an acquired taste, I would say. Either you love the French people or you don't. And I would say they truly are the people with no chill, and they don't care. Either you love them or you don't, and they don't care either. So I was ready to come back. I was missing my Chick-fil-A, my Popeyes, my Zaxby's. And so I had to come back. I missed it. So, yes.
Yeah, so we're glad that you came back to showcase, this is a wonderful project, so thank you so much. And just talk a little bit about, what were the first steps of, making the project happen. I know you got a couple of people together, so
yes.
How did you even make that happen?
So initially, I took a very grassroots approach, and I just reached out to the 7 other guys. Only 3 of them I actually knew. The other 4 were strangers, essentially. And I thought that they were doing some amazing things in their community as well as their respective professional arenas. And I said, hey guys, I want to do this photo shoot called The New Stereotype. And the goal is to show Black men in a different light that I felt they weren't showing, but go beyond the depths. I didn't want to do just a fashion photo shoot, so I didn't ask fashion guys. I asked a janitor, I asked a private investigator, I asked a barber, I asked a financial analyst, I asked an undergraduate student. I wanted a mixture of people to be a part of this and truly to provide a platform to share our stories. We reached out to our photographer who's done every installment since, Olushola Bachelor, and we went to Wall Street and we just bonded, and we took these photos, again, with this stance of saying that this is us taking the writing instruments of life and writing our own story. And this is what our story is. We are Black men of intellect. We're spiritual. We're resilient. We're optimistic. We have goals. We have aspirations. And we're not all what the media says that we are. And also just providing inspiration for others, inside as well as outside the Black community. Just a pride platform, I would say.
So I know you've been featured like almost everywhere. Like I've seen you on Centric, Black Enterprise, BET's the Black Lit List, like XO Nicole. I love that site. Just tell a little bit about, how did you get people's attention? And I know you've been able to bring a lot of publicity in a short time. So how?
Yes. So I would say this because I have an amazing support network. It wasn't because of me. It was because people believed in this project and they wanted to see it receive legs and to move as much as possible. So one of my friends, his name is Nimi, he lives in the Bay Area, so San Francisco. He said, hey, I know of this site called Blavity. And I was like, oh, of course I know Blavity too. I love Blavity. He said, well, I know someone there. I think you should consider pitching your story to them because more people need to see this. Mm-hmm. And I agreed. So I put together a small pitch. We sent it over to Blavity. They were completely supportive, as they have been to this day. I absolutely love Blavity. And once it got into their website, it truly grew wings. And I remember looking maybe three or 4 weeks after the actual piece went onto their site, and it had over 100,000 shares. And that blew my mind. Like, people are really into it this much. And I had friends calling and texting me, oh my God, I see you everywhere. This is amazing. And so from there, other people just began to pick it up. And for me, I started to develop a strategy after that. And I would just reach out to other places and say, hey, this platform is something I think that your audience would enjoy. I would love to share this part of our journey with you. And most people have been receptive, or they just reached out to us and just picked it up. So we've been very fortunate in that regard, that people have taken a very serious interest and an invested interest as well.
And isn't it so amazing that, I know you talk about Blavity, I love Blavity, and it's just how like you said, we are able to tell our story about how, you can get on these platforms like that, they're Black run, and they're able to, generate so many numbers. So
yes.
Doesn't it feel just amazing?
It's super amazing because I think it speaks to our potential. It speaks to the capacity that we can truly drive conversation. We can be change agents, and we don't need the permission to do so. So again, XO Nicole is Black run. BET is not Black owned, but there is a lot of Black influence, I would say. So any platform, or even if it's not Black, there's this platform called the Portuguese Mustache, based out of Portugal, who also did a write-up in Portuguese. Wow. But the African diaspora is very wide and it's very deep, and so that touches many places in many, many countries. So I think within our community, it's definitely great to see that support. But we've branded the project in a way where we've said that Black, pro-Black doesn't mean anti-everything else. Right. So I'm glad that people can see that and understand that.
So all these amazing things, how big is your team?
Well, that's a good question. I would say that on a regular, Olushola Bachelor, who's the photographer, he has done every single installment that we've done to date from the beginning, the future installments as well. We have a video director, a new video director who came on board as in our second women's installment. He's completing the documentary for us as well, and he'll be on. But team is an interesting word, I would say, because everyone who contributes to this project is a part of the team. And it's hard to put a number on that, because anyone who lends a part of their life story to this project, I consider them family, and so that could be as wide as like 50 plus people at this point who've been invested into the project, who has given their time, their money, and their efforts on a rolling basis, consistently, over and over again, posting, talking about it, sharing. Even on my Facebook, my personal Facebook alone, there are people who I see all the time who share anything the new Stereotype related. And I can say they're part of the team because they're spreading the word. So it's difficult to put a number on that. I would just say there's an amazing support network of people who, again, have started with legs and now has given it wings. And I'm grateful for them. So, yeah.
Love it. So I know you mentioned the women's part of it. Also, talk about the Queen collection.
Yes. So Nimi is like putting me on. So Nimi also said, hey, you should do a women's version. So the first women's version was in September of last year, called the Queen edition. And the idea behind this was to bring together black women to show that sisterhood among them is not an anomaly. You know, it's not always what you see on reality TV where they're fighting and screaming over the same man, the same look, the same aspirations. So 7 completely different women. In fact, one, I can't have favorites, but Bree, I love you. She is originally, quick shout out, she's originally from Rotterdam, Netherlands. I didn't even know that black people lived there. And her first language is Dutch. And she came over to the U.S. as an expat, so, you know, she's originally from there. She came to work here. And even, again, thinking about the African diaspora and how far that reaches, talking about her experience of being a black woman growing up in the Netherlands and now being here in the U.S. as an expat. And we just wanted to talk about the sisterhood. And we also did a second edition in Washington, D.C. at National Mall called The Bedazzled Crown. And that focused on body diversity, acceptance, and entrepreneurship. So all of the women outside of their full-time job or outside of their main hustle, they have a side hustle, I would say. And I was inspired by all 7 of them. Amazing women. Amazing. Like, I can go on and on about this. Another quick shout out, Bagi Solomon, who is originally from Ethiopia, who is definitely for our culture. She has Africa tattooed on her back. That's like a huge tattoo of Africa on her back. And she's a private school translator and fundraiser here in Washington, D.C. And we did a small little film for there, and she spoke her entire piece in French. And I wanted her to do that because a lot of people don't know that almost 2/3 of Africa speaks French. And even her as an Ethiopian woman, if you look at her, she kind of looks Hispanic, but she identifies... that's subjective. She kind of looks Hispanic, but she identifies as a black woman. So I wanted to show these different layers, and that's what this project truly is about, celebrating the many, many, many layers of black life in America.
Right. So, just talking about that, mentioning that, what it is truly, so how do you think people perceive the new stereotype, and how do you want
absolutely, for sure. I think that overwhelmingly it is received in a positive way. I would say 95% of the people who engage with our project understands what it's about, celebrating and highlighting the many diverse layers of black life in America through fashion, photography, and film. They understand that. Maybe a small percentage, 5% or so, engage with it, and either they don't agree with it or maybe they don't understand it. Because when we originally released our first installment on Blavity and the 130,000 plus shares, Yo Gotti says it goes down in the DMs, but I think it goes down in the comments. So, and it's important for me. It's important for me to read those comments and to get that feedback on how to improve this project, because this project is representative of not all people, but of a certain subgroup of people, and I wanted to, make it better and better. And a few comments were, we're pandering to the white man, or this is a respectability politics type of project. Why are the pants so tight? Why do we have to wear suits? Martin Luther King was killed in a suit. A suit does nothing for you. So I think sometimes people misunderstand the project as a project that's trying to end racism or police brutality. And in no interview, no thing I've ever written will I ever say that, because I don't believe that. Racism is an institution and a thought. It's an institution and the thought of belief that a certain group should be discriminated against. My project could never overtake that, and its goal is not to do that. The project is simply to provide a platform for people to be celebrated that haven't always had the platform. So that's sometimes how it's received, and that's the nature of what it is. And authenticity and truth is something I've tried to keep close to this project, and as long as we can do that and keep it real, for lack of better words, I want to continue to do it.
So you kind of mentioned it in the question. By the way, I live for the comments, and people have their opinions. So what are you kind of saying that, when people say I shouldn't have to wear a suit to be taken seriously, what are your thoughts, even on that?
I agree with them.
Okay.
Because I don't wear a suit every day.
Okay.
Most days, yes, but every day I don't. I feel like what I'm saying is that this is an alternate side that's not always shown.
Right.
So if you go onto any news station, most social platforms, you will see black men without suits or without ties and not dressed up, and I think that's great as well. Again, I'm providing the offset, something that hasn't always had a platform that a lot of men subscribe to, a lot of women like to see, but they don't always get to see it. So I think those things are great as well. I'm just saying, here's an additional way. Here's a group of people who do dress this way, who have this love and affinity for personal style and fashion, and we're providing a platform for them to do it. And one of the things I love about being a black man is our dynamicism, like our how we can. Some people like to call it code switch. I don't prefer that, because I think I'm everything from the righteous to the ratchet and everything in between, and I'm okay with that. So I could be in a double-breasted suit and monk straps, but in my headphones I'm listening to Future, you know? Right. Or I could wear Yeezys and some joggers, and I can easily discuss with you political, educational, and economic reform. We can do that, and I love that about us. So when people say you don't have to wear a suit, I agree with you, because I don't always wear a suit. When they say you don't have to wear a tie, I agree with you, because I don't always wear a tie. This is just the angle we've chosen in the platform that we're using to do it.
In other words, do not come from Marquelle. He did not send for you.
But that's a great question. I love the dialogue too, and so often I get these opportunities, these great opportunities like you're giving me, to discuss the project for people who understand it and who get it. And I love the chance to really kind of interact with rebuttal as well. So I don't get that as much, but I welcome it. So yeah.
Of course, we're here for you. So we talk a lot about fashion. So what are your thoughts on like the representation of blacks in fashion, and do you feel that we're underrepresented?
Absolutely. I definitely think we're underrepresented. When you think about our influence on culture in general, from food to music, fashion to language. I remember saying the word bae so many years ago, and it just being the thing that we discussed or we said, and now it's super popular. So it maybe took one person outside of our community to mention it, and now it's all over. You know, it's mainstream conversation. I mean, I remember when I was a kid that black women have twerked forever, since the Roaring 20s, and then it took Miley Cyrus to twerk, and now it's acceptable. Now it's popular. Right. So if we just think about that in its simplest form, I think that we have a heavy impact on trend, especially hairstyles. If you think about how a lot of people are shaping their bodies recently, I think it's impacted by the way black women are naturally shaped. Right. If you think about things like cornrows, which my sister had cornrows when I was a kid, like forever, and then it took like Kylie Jenner to wear it for it to be avant-garde or couture, which I didn't understand, because cornrows is like the easy go-to that black women do all the time. So I think that our culture is loved, but we aren't always loved. And one of my roles in my full-time job and one of my full-time aspirations is to be a men's fashion director and to help bridge the gap between our culture, which is so dynamic, which is always changing, which is, I mean, when you think about Black Twitter, like if something happens, the memes and that comes so fast, like it's so creative. And I just want to help bridge that gap, because I think there's a missed opportunity because of how trend-setting we are, because of the way that we dress and the way we put things together, and more people need to see it and know its source.
Right. I mean, all good stuff, and all great points. So what's the future of the new Stereotype, and what's the future for you?
Absolutely. So the future for the new Stereotype is bright. It's super exciting. One of my focuses will be to transition the new Stereotype from a project to a business. So right now, everything the new Stereotype is housed under my personal website, marquelleturner.com, but I will be removing it, and it will have its own space. Again, developing a team of people specifically dedicated to its innovation and its longevity. And earlier I mentioned in a very simple sentence that the new Stereotype celebrates and highlights the many diverse layers of Black life in America through fashion, photography, and film. And we're just going to add an event on that, because we just had our first event this past August called Tuxedos, Toast, and Trap, which was amazing. I had a great time. It was very, very busy, but it was great to see people come out in droves to support the new Stereotype. And we previewed our documentary. We turned up. The food was amazing. The melanin was popping severely. Like it was a great time. And so that's the future of the new Stereotype. Continuing to celebrate Black life and giving more people an opportunity to share their stories. And because we're almost finished with the documentary, this fall we're going to do a documentary viewing. So we're working that out and what that could mean. For me personally, a lot of my friends and family know this, but I'm actually moving out of the country next month to a very small country called Qatar to focus on another part of my aspiration, which is fashion buying. And the new Stereotype will continue to thrive from Qatar here in New York City. But I'm just going to step away for a little bit. But again, I said this project moves because of the people who support it, and I think they're still there. So we're going to keep it going, baby.
So you know, congrats. So you have to tell us about the move. Where and what are you doing?
Yes. So sorry. So I'm going to be moving to Doha, Qatar. Doha is the capital of Qatar. And Qatar currently is, if not the wealthiest, one of the wealthiest countries in the world. It is a peninsula, so it's surrounded by water and only, kind of like Florida, and only bordered by one country, which is Saudi Arabia. And they're opening a new cultural center there called Qatar Plaza, where they'll open a luxury department store that's headquartered in Paris called Galeries Lafayette. And I will be the menswear buyer for all of the menswear. So my goal is to travel the world, find the best pieces so that when tourists and other wealthy expats come to the area, they have all the Givenchy, Burberry, Dior that they want to buy until they can't buy anymore. So that is what I'll be doing. And I'm super grateful to have the opportunity to do this. And I think as a Black man, this will be the first time I've lived outside of the country. It'll definitely deepen my cultural perspective, and it's needed to have these different experiences. And I'm sure I'll run into a lot of things that are different from me in that country, but I welcome all of those challenges.
I told you, your family must be so proud. A small town coming from the Carolinas, like there is no excuse. And I know there are a lot of young men and women, especially, like look up to you. So just keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
So even in speaking on that, like what are you most proud of about yourself and about the project thus far?
I'm most proud of the consistency that we've been able to maintain. Being that it is a project, there is no money involved, right? By definition, the new Stereotype is a liability, because a liability is anything that costs you money. It isn't an asset yet because it's not making money. So all of the time, the effort, the money, the love we put into it gives it its breathing room. So I'm most proud that we've been able to keep it going. It's been a year since we released our first installment, and I'm just proud that people are receiving what we're putting out there. Right. For me personally, I'm most proud of just living life in a way that I've never lived it before, which is like New York City has a way of liberating you, I would say. Coming from a small town, and like you kind of sometimes have people tell you can only do certain things, you can only live a certain way. And New York, for me, has shown me like it's a place where you can truly do what you want to do, have access to so many things. And I'm proud of making that transition of moving to New York City with no job, no money, and just on a leap of faith. And you know, they say prayer the size of a mustard seed. So I watermelon at this point, because my faith has grown immensely since being here. So yeah, that's what I'm most proud of. Surviving New York City is hard. It's hard in these streets.
It is.
It's hard in these streets.
I think we were talking about, a lot of people talk about, if New Yorkers, from New York, that hustle. But it's a lot of times the people that aren't from here that hustle.
New Yorkers,
what made you just take that leap of faith and say, I want to do it?
Well, one of the main reasons was either I can go back to North Carolina, which I was not doing. I wasn't going back to Jacksonville. Or I had to finally do what I wanted to do. I wanted to move to New York. I moved in 2014, and I wanted to live here since 2011. But I was always fearful, And they say doubt is a goal killer. Like, I was always afraid, like, I needed the perfect job, the right amount of money, and everyone was telling me New York was so expensive, it's so dangerous, all these things that will keep you from moving forward. And I was just like, you know what? There are so many people living in this city thriving. What's the difference between them and I? And I think the difference is the choice that they made to just move here, to face it, to embrace it. And now I'm one of those people. And I think New York natives, are too comfortable, in my opinion. I think the transplants, the people who come from the South, I love New York, and I love it's built because of the transplants, I believe, though, because we come here with this fresh perspective. We're excited, we're ready to work. And this is something I got directly from a New York native, by the way, just in case someone from Brooklyn told me this. But we come here with this excitement and this energy and this drive and a lot of optimism to do great things. So, I mean, I'm happy to be around transplants every day who are out here riding and getting it. So.
Yes. Cues music. So I have a couple of fire questions for you. You know, they're a little off topic, but on topic. Some a little fun. So one of the questions is, what advice would you give your 23-year-old self?
So I'm 29. So that was about 6 years ago. I would tell myself, it's all good. Like, be patient. Enjoy the scenery on the way to the final destination.
Wow.
Sometimes we look so far ahead. We're just trying to get there. I'm just trying to get to the money. I'm trying to be here by 30. I'm gonna have this. That I wasn't even enjoying like what was in front of me. All the great things happening at that time. The scenery, you know. And so I would tell myself that like everything will work out. It's like everything is by design. Nothing is by mistake. Everything's already planned out. Just enjoy it, live in it, and that's what I would tell myself.
That was the word. So, and another one, so brunch or happy hour?
Brunch. You know, New York, I hadn't really heard of brunch like that until I moved to New York, but it's something that they do every chance they get here. Exactly. So brunch for sure. Anytime we get a good brunch, so it has to be a turned up brunch. I don't drink alcohol personally, so as long as there's a good lemonade, sweet tea, or sweet tea lemonade mix, some Future, and some chicken and waffles, we can have a good time. So
first of all, you talked about lemonade, sweet tea. So have you had good sweet tea, and where?
That's good. Well, I spend the majority of my time in the great neighborhood of Harlem stand up, and there they have quite a few soul food restaurants, and I mean not like American comfort. I mean like soul food, like Southern food, where it's like Big Mama's in the back and her slides and her hairnet, and she's using the same grease to fry the chicken as she fried the pork chops in. Like it's that kind of environment. And so Amy Ruth's is one of my favorite. See, you know, it's one of my favorite places to go to before I leave. I'll have to go at least 4 or 5 times. Not good for me, but good to me. And where else? I would say also Sylvia's. I'm not sure if you had the chance to go there. I took a friend from Ohio there recently. He said, "This is like syrup." I said, "I know, perfect." I said, "Perfect, just how I like it." Exactly, you know how we do, baby. So yes, I would say. Other than that, it's tough. Everything else is iced tea, water with brown liquid, and icing. I was like, "What is like?" Yeah.
No, I have to say, Amy Ruth's, I haven't had, so I went there recently. Okay. And one of the things that got me with Amy Ruth's was the food was good. Like, she let us taste it first. She was like, "You're from the South?" I'm like, "Yes, please make sure it's good." And then she brought out Kool-Aid. I have not had Kool-Aid in years.
Right. But I love that.
Red Kool-Aid.
Right, not cherry, but red. Yes.
Red. So shout out to Amy.
Yes, Amy Ruth's. I love it. They need to give me like a free plate before I leave or something, because I'm showing them mad publicity.
We'll put the plug.
Please.
So which TV show you wish still aired?
Martin. I love Martin. I think I've seen every episode ever made. Just, it's hilarious. Even to this day, it's still hilarious. I wish that... every time I see him, every time I see Gina, I'm calling her Gina, Tisha Campbell, every time I see Pam, you know, it's just their relationship and their energy was so amazing, and it was just funny. Like, it was just funny. Like, I love that show. Martin would be amazing.
Yes, Martin. So you travel, you know, you're going some great places. So your favorite place to travel?
one of the favorite places I've been to is Monaco, actually. Monaco is a very small country, I think the second smallest country in the world off of the French Riviera, and it's a beautiful country. If you've ever been to Disneyland, it's like Disneyland, but real. Like, people live in the castles, and it's just such a great energy. So the south of France is much like the south of the United States. So the people there are very calm, they're cool, they're chill, they're just living the life on the beach, and it's beautiful. So Monaco is absolutely stunning.
One day to-do list.
Yes, add it. Monaco, you have to go. You have to go.
And I wish I knew how to
swim.
Wait, you don't.
I wish I knew how to swim. Look, I know I'm out here creating new stereotypes, but I wish I knew. But that's actually on my goal for. I cannot end 2017. I'm being realistic. Until I learn how to swim.
Okay.
I wish I knew how to swim so I could like throw some laps on them, but I cannot swim. Yes.
You're gonna pray for that.
Please do.
Okay.
Keep me in your prayers.
So, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
This has been great. You made it easy, just wonderful.
Thank you.
And we're here for you.
Thank you so much.
I definitely want to ask you, how can the people, stay in touch with you? How can we support you?
Absolutely. Yes. So you can definitely visit the website, marquelleturner.com, and that is MarQuelle. So marquelleturner.com, and same Instagram at marquelleturner. And anything that I do, I'm pretty open about it, especially on my Instagram story. I was just singing Dangerously in Love to my $5 Popeyes box because it's a healthy, beautiful relationship when that $5 Popeyes box is in rotation.
So it's $5 now?
Yes, right now.
Let's go.
3 tenders, 2 sides, or 2 pieces of chicken. Popeyes can give me a free meal too. But yes, so please, you can check out everything that we're doing there regarding the new Stereotype and anything moving forward. So again, thank you so much for having me. I'm super grateful and look forward to sharing with people who want to hear more about it and just want to hear me talk about sweet tea. So yeah.
Yay. So thank you, and there you have it, people. Anything else you wanted to add?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. Oh, actually, one thing I do want to add is that I feel like I mentioned earlier in New York, this is a place of access and liberation. And one of my favorite quotes is, "In a world where you can be anything, try being yourself." And for such a long time, I lived according to expectation. And now I'm doing me. And it's a beautiful thing. So, yeah, that's it. Appreciate it.
Good for the soul.
Appreciate it. Yes, sir.
People. And we're out.